All right, so we're going to be doing E's and F's. So it's interesting because the word folk shows up before effect. So this is one of those rare missteps from one of these classic texts. Um, yeah, so the F shows up before the E. It was interesting. All right, so anyways, I don't know if it was a misprint or a mistype. That's from the original text, or just when it was transposed to the internet. I don't know. But anyways, um, a folk, a collective noun equivalent to people. Use the singular form only. The men folk, the women folk. It's usually pretty colloquial. You don't want to use it in most academic essays. Um, it's kind of cute. I guess you could use it maybe in a conclusion, depending on the subtext and the context of what the writer is saying. But in academic writing, I think men folk and women folk. It's a little bit cute. Um, but yeah, it's just equivalent to people. So effect as a noun means result. The effect as a verb means to bring about or accomplish, not to be confused with affect, which means to influence. His sickness affected his ability to perform well on the dance floor or on the racetrack. Period. Affected, to influence. Um, effect means so cause and effect, right? That's the easiest way to remember it. Cause and effect. Um, as a verb, effect means to bring about or to accomplish. We're going to go over some of these. We're going to go over a little bit more thoroughly on individual videos, and we'll have links when these words come up, and so you can click into those if you feel so inclined, as well. So as noun, and this is one of them, effect versus affect. As noun, often loosely used in perfunctory writing, which is just perfunctory meaning performing a specific task, like functional writing, like not flowery. Um, about fashions, music, painting, and other arts. In Oriental effect, effects in pale green, very delicate effects, broad effects. So very helpful to remember as a noun. It's loosely used in perfunctory writing about a lot of other things in Oriental effects, broad effects, subtle effects. A charming effect was produced by, and that's going to be the E. The writer who has a definite meaning to express will not take refuge in such vagueness. I love how funny there's like little humor in the way that a lot of these really talented writers write. They're really talented, like older writers. A lot of these guys from way back in the day, just their humor is just like wrapped up in these funny sentences. The writer who has a definite meaning to express will not take refuge in such vagueness. It's 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 really funny, like what they take super seriously, and and just also how well they're able to put their wording. I mean, just even when they're being snarky or silly, um, I think that there's humor if you look for it in a lot of these. So it's these are old relics. They're dusty. I mean, I'm sure that I'm not going to inspire 10,000 people to check out the Elements of Style from the bookstore or from the library. But if you've already got it, or if you want to learn a little bit about it without having to check out the source material, it's also obviously on Gutenberg.org. Um, but yeah, I mean the writing is good. These guys generally know how to write. The guys that I'm going over in these videos, they generally know how to write, um, etc. Equivalent to and the rest and so forth, and hence not to be used if one of these would be insufficient. That is, if the reader be left in doubt as to any important particulars. Least open to objection when it represents the last terms of a list already given in full or immaterial words at the end of a quotation. Um, we'll go over that a lot more thoroughly in a separate video. But just remember, it's at the end of a list. So you're going to say such as, for example, blank, 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 etc. So etc. It's um, It's actually incorrect. At the end of a list introduced by such as, for example, or any similar expression, etc., is incorrect. Um, it's equivalent to and the rest and so forth, and hence not to be used if one of these would be insufficient. That is, if the reader will be left in doubt as to any important particulars. Um, we'll definitely go over this a lot more thoroughly in a separate video, etc. Um, really important. Also, fact. Um, the fact that you rarely want to say the fact that. Um, such conclusions as that Napoleon was the greatest of modern generals. That's not really a fact. It's subjective. The climate of California is delightful. Again, not really a fact. It's subjective. However incontestable they may be, are not properly facts. Facts and opinions. I'm working with younger students right now. Third grade, second, third, fourth grade, and that's what they're going over. They're going over, these workbooks and Spectrum and Evan Moore, and we're working on some stuff as well. But these are phenomenal companies, and they've got really great pieces of material, and they're literally going over facts and opinions. Right? F for fact and O for opinion, and it's true. This is an opinion. And they're very basic, but it's really important to spend time and go over these. They're not facts. Those are opinions. That's subjective versus objective. Subjective is opinion, right? Objective um, is fact. It's an objective. Gravity keeps people from floating away, essentially from floating away and dying. If we didn't have gravity, so that's a fact. So omit needless words. The fact that, rule number 13. This comes up a lot. Omit needless words. You don't need to say the fact that. Owing to the fact that, in spite of the fact that. You could just say since, or because, or though, or although. Or call your attention to the fact that. You could just say, I want to remind you. I want to notify you. The fact that I had arrived is bad. My arrival is good. So that generally is going to be omitted. Factor, a hackneyed word whose superior training was the great factor in his winning the match. It's basically saying overused and trite word. The left side is bad, the right side is good. So this is a bad sentence. This is a better sentence. He won the match by being better trained. Good. Heavy artillery has become an increasingly important factor in deciding battles. Heavy artillery has played a constantly larger part in deciding battles. I like that. It's something that I wish I had used. I'm pretty sure it didn't come up as a huge point of contention when writing essays in the past, but who knew that the word factor, you should try to go around it. Like don't use that word in general, at least with regards to William Strunk's opinion. Feature, another hackneyed word. A feature of the entertainment especially worthy of mention was the singing of Miss A. You better use the same number of words to tell what Miss A sang with the records already been given to tell how she sang, etc. So usually adds nothing to the sentence in which it occurs. It's kind of like the word thing, factor, feature. It's like, I think they're better than the word thing, much better than the word thing. But Strunk is saying that they're just way overused in in uh, in these settings, these academic settings. So perhaps, maybe look to go around them. Um, I don't know if many teachers would count those as like the worst crimes of writing, but it's just interesting to see what this classic texts talks about with regards to um, poor writing and improved writing. As a verb in the advertising sense of offer as a special attraction to be avoided. Okay, so fix. Here's the F. We'll do F and G. Colloquial in America. Colloquial meaning, sort of pedestrian. If you're going to be sort of judgmental, pedestrian means like something that normal people would say. But colloquial just generally means everyday speak. It's not like a negative word. Whereas pedestrian is more of a negative, has more of a negative connotation. At least that's how I learned it. That's how I perceived it when when hearing these different words over the years. So colloquial in America for arrange, prepare, mend. In writing restricted to its literary senses, fasten, make firm or immovable, etc. Um, so let's use the word fasten or make firm or immovable. I don't think that's a huge deal, but c'est la vie. All right, so get. The colloquial have got for have should not be used in writing. Have got. We have got to go. Yeah, that makes sense. In academic writing, for sure. They have got to solve this problem, period. Or, for half, they have to solve this problem. They have got to solve this problem. Yeah, that totally makes sense. You're not going to use that phrase. That's more of a dialogue phrase, not really an academic writing phrase. The preferable form of the word is got. All right, so next time we'll do H and I, and thanks a lot.